So naturally, there were a ton of takes from the Nico Iamaleava decommit, or I guess not decommit.
Transfer.
Just transfer.
Yeah.
Hold out. Some people were using that phrase, hold out. I mean, it was a one-day holdout, and then he gone. Can you imagine if an NFL player held out for one day of training camp and a coach just said, get your ass out of here?
Yeah, I cannot. I mean, we've seen holdouts where they just get rid of the player. You know, Antonio Brown a few years ago is certainly one that comes to mind, but that was a weeks-long process.
Right. Now, this one had been going on at least for a little bit, but it was more behind the scenes.
Yeah, how about this?
There was some rumblings of wanting more cash.
Well, according to Josh Pate, who is with CBS Sports, he said on his show, this stuff was happening last December during the playoffs, with this kid included, but not just this kid. They were trying to get more money from Tennessee and other playoff teams before the playoffs. So real quick, this is me now speaking. I think what he's saying here is that other players on other teams were also trying to do what he was trying to do. I'll continue. They were trying to leverage playoff participation. The explainer was, our client is being paid X amount of money to participate in 12 games, maybe a 13th if you make the conference championship game, but you guys made the playoff. He should make more money. This is the kind of BS that's happening behind the scenes right now. So apparently this was going on in December, not just with Nico, but with other players too.
And this is why I get a little irritated when I see opinions like this. Shannon Terry, who is the founder of On3, put out a tweet yesterday, said, stop blaming the athletes. It's not their fault. They want more cheddar. What can't get lost in the Nico saga is this. Blame doesn't belong to the athletes. The real issue is a broken system, a multi-billion-dollar industry with zero guardrails. And we don't need Congress to intervene. We need leadership with the courage to push for real change, even if it costs them their jobs and reputations. I'm tired of hearing people blame the kids. It's not their fault college sports is in this mess. Stop pointing fingers at Nico. Direct that energy towards the NCAA, the conferences, and the university presidents. He's not wrong. Yes, this whole mess is possible because of the lack of control and the lack of willingness to actually make real change. But you can't absolve the athletes, when I say the athletes, I'm also going to include the people like the helicopter parents and the representatives, some of these bad faith actors who are disguised as agents.
Yeah.
So when I say athletes, call it their team, if you will, their inner circle.
That fits.
There were no laws back in the old Wild West. That doesn't mean the guy who shot the other guy because he cheated at cards was in the right. This type of behavior, yes, it's made possible because there are no controls, but don't absolve the behavior as well, because it's the stuff that Josh Pate mentioned. I mean, what kind of an individual would sign a deal? Let's say you're signing with Nebraska, Josh, and you lead Nebraska to a college football playoff.
Oh, congrats, Josh.
Hell yeah, baby, I'm back.
When you decide to take on their NIL, you're in it to play the season. And if the season goes a couple extra games, well, so be it. Because that's what you want. You want to win. You want to be a champion. So these folks who are going back and say, well, you're only going to pay me for 12. You're actually getting me for 13, so we deserve. No, that's not what you agreed to. At some point, your word has to mean something.
Mahomes and the Chiefs getting the playoffs. Like, sorry, I need a pay bump now.
Can you imagine?
Because they make pennies in the postseason compared to their regular season.
I mean, at some point, your word has to mean something.
Sure.
And unfortunately, in this case, and maybe a few and a few others, a lot of people's word isn't worth a damn plug nickel.
It's a plug nickel.
Just a plug nickel.
Okay.
It's meaningless. It's worthless.
What's that?
So yes, there absolutely needs to be something done. But no one is not saying that. I will also disagree with one other point. I'm not so convinced that in order for all of this to get settled, whatever settled looks like, that there may not have to be some congressional involvement in all.
You are, say that again.
I'm saying
you think there will be congressional involvement, or that there has to
I think there almost needs to be.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, what a lot of folks are saying is, well, why can't college sports do it like the NFL? Well, they could, but you know what the NFL also has? Congressional protection from an antitrust.
Yeah, Major League Baseball has
exactly.
Every sport does.
So I mean, I get that a lot of folks are frustrated that
You know why with that stuff?
That they're the leadership in college athletics is deflecting everything to Washington, saying we need this, but they're not wrong, because the minute you come up with something that might fix the problem, somebody else is going to see that as being wrong and sue your ass. So I think at some point there's going to have to be some involvement from Washington just to prevent all the lawsuits from happening.
Well, one of the things I always say to you is the reason that this is all just so crazy to us is because we're the ones who are having to live through it, where we get to look back in the past and see the decisions that were made along the way, and we can judge them retroactively, right? I and you, we didn't have to live through congressional litigation of antitrust rules with the NFL.
No.
We know the NFL as it is today, and so we don't really view it as Congress is getting involved in the NFL, even if they did. I think that's part of it. I think there's also a lack of trust in institutions today, government rights. Like, I think we view everyone as toothless. The other thing, too, and this is not another original point, but so often when I think of the ideas that you and I have had, or how college sports can maybe fix some of the ills, CBA, for example, collectively bargaining, having contracts. Sadly, I do think that the answer at the end of every tunnel is going to be some form of contraction, a smaller league with fewer teams, a set schedule, all the things that people are like, man, wouldn't it be nice if college football had this and this and this? It's probably going to have the Super League component to it. I don't think that we're going to be able to have some form of scholarship contracts, for example, or any of the other things that we want until we get the thing that you and I don't want, and that is a smaller league. And so it's going to be quite the give and take.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like, I'm with you on this. I don't hate the player, hate the game. I think you can be frustrated as hell with both situations, though. You can be frustrated with college sports for what it has allowed itself to turn into over your lifetime and prior. Seriously, go read a book. Go read old Sports Illustrated articles in the vault. You can find all sorts of takes and opinions about college sports should, whether it's something as simple as fun as why don't they have a playoff, to paying athletes. Hundreds of years, like 100 years ago, you can find all of that stuff. They drug their feet, and then everything opened up at the exact same time. But you can also say, like, it's crappy that a player would go to the postseason and say, I want more money. You can get mad at both situations.
Sure you can.
Because that's where I find, like, I'm happy. Honestly, this is a great story for you and me because we get to watch it from afar and say, wow, that's nuts. I would hate to be on the ground having to cover this crap. But it's going to happen around here. We've gotten really lucky in that Nebraska, because they've been so bad at football, we missed like the entire opt-out era of bowl games and having to have those discussions. We have not seen something like this before, but all it takes is one solid year from Dylan Raiola. People were coming for him in December. It's going to happen again. And what if he says, I want more money? Like Sipple wrote in his column, like, it's good that Dylan has good parents. And it's like, sure, but they can still ask for more money.
Sure,
and it wouldn't surprise me if they do. So, like, at some point, this is going to be on our doorstep around here locally.
Of course it will.
Just be ready for it because this stuff sucks.
Of course it will. And, one thing that has always been a constant in sports are bad parents.
Always
bad parents. And
no matter what level.
And wouldn't you know who won the pony? We got a bad parent in the middle of all this.
Yeah. Well, the best part too is, so who was the first reporter? Pete Nakos of On 3, right? He was the first one. And his dad chirps in, no, this is and like all the Tennessee sycophants are hopping into,
sure,
Pete, you're wrong. Pete, you're wrong. Now what are you saying? Days later. Like, what on earth? And he kicked off a lot of that crap his dad did.
Oh, absolutely he did. And so it's one thing. It's always been kind of important in some places, but this is the shame of it. Because I feel the one thing that college athletics has done a great job of for a long, long time is it has given people an opportunity to achieve something that they would not have had a chance to achieve if they didn't have that one special skill. That one special skill being a great shooter, a great passer, a great tackler, a great hitter. And the ability to change the lives of individuals and their families with that scholarship, with that ability to get that college education. And a lot of people would not have gotten that opportunity to get a good education had it not been for the initial scholarship they got because they could play football or because they could play basketball. And it took people who took chances on folks. Certainly, Tom Osborne took chances on folks who were either partial or non-qualifiers, people who would not have gotten that opportunity. What worries me about situations like this is how much more it is going to emphasize the fact that, okay, I want to get this player, but I got to know what his background is like. And if they've got good parents behind them or good advisors behind them. And sadly, there's going to be people like Nico who might be well-intending young individuals who are good people at heart. But because they're represented by bad folks, it could cost them opportunities.
Yeah, but you never know when will that bad actor show itself.
Sure.
It could show itself at any moment.
Sure.
It could be until year 4.
Yeah. And of course, with the speed dating aspect of the portal, it's hard to find out a lot of those things.
Yeah.
It's those types of things that have made the really successful recruiters really good at their jobs because they had the ability to do months of recon and months of developing a relationship and getting to know somebody so that hey, at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, I can trust you.
Sure.
And now speed dating aspect, it's like, well, you're going to,
Well, and you feel that way about signing day. And, we always wonder, why has signing day lost its luster? Well, one of the big reasons is, nobody feels like those guys are going to be on their team for much longer. It's so funny. I see the rankings and it's like, this team is ranked 3rd. It's like, who cares? The whole roster is going to turn over in a year to begin with.
Right.
None of that stuff, it matters as much as it did at one point.